I teased it yesterday. Today, we're gonna make some very cute balloons in Adobe Illustrator. They're also very happy cute balloons. If you like the potted plants tutorial, you're gonna like this one too. Let's get started. All right, so here's our cute little balloons. They each have their own little smiley faces and their own little colors. We're gonna just start a completely fresh document, file, new. We're gonna make it 1920 by 1080, because that helps me make thumbnails out of this. All right, let's start by creating a background. So going over to my rectangle tool, the shortcut key for that is M. I'm just gonna click sort of in the corner of my artboard and make this thing 1920 by 1080, the same size as my artboard. I wanna get rid of this stroke, so you could just click this little slash there to make none, and then if I click on my fill to make it the foreground of what I'm working on, I can double click on it. And we're gonna go down to something in the tan region. So a little bit more saturation, something right in there. Hit OK, and there we go. That's a little yellow for my liking, so let's pull it back away from the yellow a little bit and hit OK. So we got a little bit warmer tone. Now I'm gonna go up to layers. I'm going to double click the name of this layer, call it BG, create then a new layer and lock the background. And make sure the new layer is selected. We're gonna build everything on top of the background. That way we don't accidentally move the background around. Whew, that's a lot of rounds. All right, L is your shortcut key for the ellipse tool. Let's make a perfect circle holding shift, something like 350 by 350, around that size. And then we're gonna create the color of our little balloon. Double click on our fill, go to our color picker. I think I want like an orange red. Something right in here might be good. Maybe something like that. And then I also want a stroke around this guy. So I'm gonna double click the stroke. I'm gonna make it like a really, really deep purple. So something around here. If you look at this little B right here in the HSB, I don't even know what these stand for, but I'm pretty sure this one's black. I'm looking at the percentage and I think I want him around 25 or so. Somewhere around there, and then just in this region. Hit OK, and we have a stroke around our shape. Switch over to my properties panel and check out that stroke. I don't remember how wide it should be, maybe 10 points. That looks pretty good. And then I'm gonna click the stroke properties, and we're gonna align it to the outside. Now here's where I would have stopped in the past, but instead of a perfect circle, we're gonna warp him just a little bit. It adds a little bit of cuteness to this. All right, so I'm gonna grab, not that ellipse tool again, I'm gonna grab the direct selection tool. The shortcut key for that is A. I'm gonna click and drag over that bottom point, and I'm gonna use my arrow keys to just bump him up a little bit, just to kind of flatten out the bottom of my balloon. And then I could grab some of these handles and pull them out just to kind of warp the shape. If I click on an anchor point, I'll see all the handles around it. I can grab them and kind of just warp this little guy around. So he's not just a perfect circle. That's where it starts to get a little bit more of that illustrated effect. All right, so we've got this sort of shape here, our little blob. Let's go ahead and create the, I don't even know, the opening to the balloon here at the bottom. We're gonna do that by creating a square with the rectangle tool, hold shift. And then once we have that square, I believe what we're gonna do is use the pen tool, which is P, and then just click on one of the anchor points to cut that off. And then I'm gonna go over to the stroke options again and click on the corner round join so that the corners aren't so sharp. And then I'm gonna rotate him, hold shift, 45 degrees, and oh, that's gotta be the other way. So we want the point facing up. Okay, he's a little large, so what I want to do is just shrink him down, of course. And then the other part, you can use the scale tool here to pull in without holding anything. It goes ahead and sort of keeps it in line. You could hold shift if you want. To kind of squeeze in those corners so it's not maybe the widest of shapes. Something, okay, zooming in and out might help there. All right. Maybe like that. Also, if your stroke is messing up when you're scaling things, so you scaled that down and the stroke is real tiny now too, all you have to do is go up to your transform window. So window drop down to transform, and make sure that scale strokes and effects is not selected for this because I want that stroke to stay at 10 points no matter what I do. All right, so back to this. All we have to do with this guy is just pull that right up into there. We can zoom in a little. That's Command or Control plus and minus, and kind of pull him down. And I think he's got to be just a little bit smaller in there, maybe. Something like that, just so he's right at the bottom, but make sure he doesn't overlap too much. So just bump him down so we can't see the top portion of that triangle. And there you go, you've got the bottom of the balloon. That works out pretty well. All right, so what else do we have here? Let's go ahead and do the little smiley face. I'm gonna go ahead and draw an ellipse, L key again, and make just a tiny little circle, something in this size. And then we gotta adjust this. So I'm gonna click this little flip stroke and fill. Then I'm gonna make sure the stroke is selected and hit none. So now we just have one little black dot. We can go ahead and make the smiley face out here. If I hold Option or Alt, it's gonna click and drag and it's gonna duplicate that. I'm gonna zoom in just a touch. And now I'm gonna create an ellipse, but I'm gonna go ahead and swap the fill and stroke so I just have this stroke. I'm gonna create a little ellipse here, hold Shift to keep that in line, and this is gonna be his little smile. So we basically made a circle. I wanna make sure it's 10 points on that stroke. And then what we can do is simply delete out the top point. So grab that direct selection tool, hit the delete key on the top point, and there we go. Now, one thing to finish this off though, you see how it's like just a jagged edge there at the top? We can go over to the stroke options again, and on the cap, we're gonna do a rounded cap. That's gonna round off the ends of our stroke. I think the smile's a little bit too big, so I'm gonna scale him down just a little, holding Shift and Option or Alt with my selection tool. Always going back to that selection tool. And we're gonna bring that smile right up in between those eyes, somewhere around here. Maybe we'll make those eyes just a little wider. And this part, it doesn't, you know, things don't have to be perfectly centered all the time, especially for an illustration. That adds a little bit of character to this dude. And also, if you're not centered on the eyes, it just looks like he's looking one way or the other. All right, so let's go ahead and group this guy together. So Command or Control G to do that. So now it moves as one layer. And we can just drag him on top of our balloon. And there he is. He's got a giant head. We can always scale this stuff up and down if we would like. So we've got a little smiley face. We got some eyes, some beady eyes on there. Let's go ahead and work on the highlight and the shadow here. So I'm gonna create another circle. This one I'm gonna fill with white, like a pure white. Not fill, but I'm gonna add the stroke as a pure white. Go up to that ellipse tool, create a circle, and go ahead and create it on top of your guy. Hold Shift there, and we'll take a look at this. I'm gonna make sure he's also 10-point stroke if it didn't automatically do that. I'm gonna kind of align him up to the top here. I'm concerned with like putting this highlight up here, and I'm just gonna use my pen tool to add anchor points to this path where I want my highlight to go. So something like that, and then I'm gonna have a shorter one somewhere between here, like real short, like that. And now what I can do is zoom out on this guy and start to delete out the other anchor points on this circle. And so I can just use my direct selection tool, shortcut key is A, click on other anchor points and start deleting them, just like this. So just click and delete what we don't want here. I don't want this one. Let's see, I've got one. So I want there to be a break in between these two. So I'm gonna pull out a different tool. It's the scissors tool. Shortcut key is C, and I'm gonna cut it on this anchor point and cut it on this anchor point. And then I can use my selection tool to click in between and delete out that. Sometimes it leaves a little extra point. You see how it's got an extra point selected here? All you have to do is delete that as well, and you're good to go. So now we've got our little highlight. This guy, make sure that those caps are rounded. Mine automatically did it, but if yours didn't, make sure they're rounded. And then what you can do is just grab both of these, and you can start to sort of rotate them around to make them fit in here. And I'm pretty sure in my other one, I upped the stroke to maybe 15, just to give it a little bit more. And these guys are a little close together. You know, it's a feel thing here. So just pull him apart a little bit. Maybe rotate these around just a touch more. And then I would take the opacity of both back to, I don't remember, maybe 50% or so. Just like that. So he's got a little little highlight up there. Let's create a shadow. And to do that, I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this entire piece. So I'm selecting everything, holding Option or Alt, and dragging it out here, just like that. So this guy, I'm gonna use him to create the shadow, and I'm gonna delete out what I don't need. I don't need the bottom, I don't need the face, and I don't need the highlights. I just need the blobby circle, balloon shape, body thing. All right, so create another ellipse, this time like that. And honestly, you don't have to hold Shift here. Oh, you know what? We're not even gonna do that. Sorry. We're gonna use his body to create a shadow on his body. Does that make sense? All right, so go up to the selection tool. So we've got him, right? Hold Option or Alt and create another duplicate and just bring him out here. I'm going to swap the fill and stroke just so I can see it, and then if stroke is selected, get rid of that stroke, just like that. So now I can see where my shape is. I'm gonna make him a little bit bigger, so kind of scale him up. I'm holding Shift on that. Maybe a little bit more. And then what I'm looking at is the negative space here. So I'm looking at the space that's left over of my balloon guy shape here. And I'm just kind of scaling him up to try to find the right sliver to make a shadow. Once I find that, select both, and then use the shape builder tool. That's Shift M as a shortcut key. And we're gonna hold Option or Alt until that little plus becomes a minus, and we're just gonna swipe through here. You can also just click on them. And now I have this piece over here. What I can do with this piece is do the same thing, swap the fill and stroke, and then click on the stroke, get rid of it. Oh, whoa, click too many times. Just want to get rid of that stroke. So I just want this type of sliver right there. And I'm gonna bring him over on top of my balloon over here. And we're just gonna line him up, zoom in, just kind of line him up in here so that he completely covers out to the stroke edge. So something like that works. And then I'm gonna click on him and take him down to, I don't know, maybe 25% is where I'm gonna take him. So now we've got a little highlight and we've got a little shadow on the side of our friend here. And I think I'm gonna take his facial features down just a little bit. He's got a nice big round head. It's so cute. We need the little stringy string here, right, that he's connected to. So let's open up our pen tool. Shortcut key is P. Make sure that we have just the stroke selected, and this is always the same black. We've been using the same black the whole time. And that stroke weight is gonna be 5 points, 10 points. It's gonna be 10 points. Make sure in the stroke options, we got rounded cap selected, and then we're golden. Now I'm just gonna create out from the center of this little triangle, his little string. I'm gonna click and drag in the direction that I wanna go. I'm also gonna hold Shift a little bit with that. So that's gonna influence my curve out here. And I just want like a little rounding maybe to the curve. So something like this, and then maybe something like that. Just like that. And then if it doesn't look, like look at this, it doesn't look the best, okay? So I'm gonna hit A, my direct selection tool, and select this anchor point. And I can start to mess with these handles just to kind of make this a bit more fluid of a curve. I can also move this anchor point if I want to, and just adjust how much these handles influence the line either way. That looks, that looks a little bit better. So you just want to make those curves nice and smooth, and it'll look pretty good. It's not a scientific process here. All right, I want to send this guy to the back, obviously. So right click him, arrange, send to back, and you guys, we got a balloon. You did it. You made a little balloon. Let's change his colors. All right, so we got this balloon. I'm gonna grab him. I'm actually gonna probably Command or Control G. That's gonna group him together. You can also right click and go to group. Oh, it'll be right there. That's ungroup. Group will be there. All right, we're gonna duplicate him. Hold Option or Alt. Bring him out here. There we go. We got a little guy. Now let's just double click into him until you get to the, you're inside this layer group now, and now we can select each individual piece. We can select his head, and we can change the color of his balloon, of this little balloon guy. So what? Let's make this guy green. So just drag this around, find a green that you like. If you keep it in the same spot, it's gonna have some similar tones to all the colors are gonna have like a similar feel to them. So I'm just gonna keep that in the same spot and just adjust this. Hit OK, and there's like a little green color. If we double click in there, well, not double click in there. Let's click out. All right, I got the group. Double click into him, and then click the head. We can double click on that fill. And before you exit this, you can always grab this little hex code at the bottom, copy that, and then go out to like this little piece, double click, and you can paste that hex code just to make sure you have the same color. And then you can always go into Window, down to Swatches, and you can always add a new swatch. So we're adding that color as a new swatch, and if we check mark global and we hit OK, now it's a global swatch. So now what I could do is click on that balloon and click the global swatch. So these are both a global color, and I could double click on that global swatch at any time, just like that, and I could change his color if I wanted to. And I can hit preview to see how it's going to preview. And if you want those similar muted tones, just keep these RGB kind of in the middle. So like if it goes from here to here, keep them in here and find your colors, and you'll still have the muted tones. It won't be too saturated, too bright, anything like that. I still want him to be green though. So there we go, we got a green balloon. We're gonna drag this guy out and we're gonna make him blue. So we're gonna find a nice blue that we like. I'm gonna copy his little hex code, and then I'm gonna click on this little triangle. Is there like a name to that part of the balloon? I don't even know what that is, but it's a little triangle. Double click, he's out. Now the thing I did is you can go back into either of these by double clicking into them since they're grouped together, and you can pull their little face to the side so it looks like he's looking left, and we're gonna click into him and he's looking right, just like that. And then we can just sort of put them behind each other. So I'm gonna right click this group, arrange, send to back. There he is. We could rotate him a little bit, you know, kind of make him so he's like that. Same thing with this guy. Make sure he's in the back, arrange, send to back, just like that. And then we can rotate him just a little bit so he's kind of going out that way. And then I did tie these strands together, so I could go back into, if I double click into this group and use my direct selection tool, that's A, I can like grab this point here and bring it way over. Oh, I grabbed the handle on accident there. It's usually easier if you zoom in a little bit so you can grab these small little points. And so he's gonna come over just like that. We just click on these points, grab the handles. I want him to come out a little bit and then come over there. And then I can double click and use the selection tool to go inside of this guy, and we can kind of intertwine his little string so he can just come across there like that. Maybe something like that. And then the blue feller, he's gonna come. Oh, you don't have to double click in there. If you use the direct selection tool, you can actually just click on his little strand. So you don't have to double click in. Just click on the strand with the direct selection tool. So I gotta pull him way over here, I think like this. And he's just gonna sort of loop around on these guys here. Maybe something like that. We'll just shrink that handle down. So I'm just clicking and dragging the anchor points, shrinking the handles down, just making it look all nice and flowy, just like that. And there we go. We have 3 balloons with all their little strands intertwined. I can always sort of rotate them around a little bit, move them down some more. Maybe one of these guys needs to be sort of offset. I like that better. Right in there. And then of course we can move these around. Guys, I'm just playing now. I hope you're playing too, creating these cute little balloons. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know if it was easy enough to follow. You just made some cute, happy balloons. Congratulations. Make sure you tag me. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I don't care where you post it. Tag me, show me the balloons you made, show me what you did with them, maybe did other things with them. Love seeing that stuff. I'll make sure to like it and comment on that. I'm Spencer from Pixel and Bracket. Thank you for watching, you guys. Subscribe for more tips and tutorials, and I'll see you in the next one. I got my hair cut. It's all right. Yeah, it's like there's some weird spots. We took the sides up a little too high. So next time it's gonna be a good one. I'm gonna like Not take these short things like up too high. It's gonna be. It looks kind of weird right now. I don't know. When I look in the mirror, it's kind of weird. But hope you guys like the tutorial. I can't speak. It's turtle. We didn't make turtles. Maybe we'll do that next time.